Scott, what do we got for them this week?
Serving up at the breakfast buffet, we have Ray Jazz interviewing myself, Scott Delvecchio.
It's one for the ages, all right? Very special one. 2-time state champ for the South Plainfield, New Jersey. My teammate, my friend. Some might think
My brother.
my brother, all right? Serving up for Alston Construction. Construction manager.
Construction manager.
Project manager. Pretty big deal, pretty big stuff. A lot of lessons to learn. I hope you all will enjoy. That was a better one, right? Right?
I like that.
Do it! Ray Jazz a call. Major decision, 14-4.
And here we are, very special guest, kind of a take two. The Skype interview didn't do it justice, Scott. We had to do it live to tape, from the warehouse, undisclosed location,
Undisclosed.
invite only, just like a lot of the parties we weren't invited to, right? What's up, my man?
You know, just living life, man.
Making it happen.
Making it happen.
Yeah. The whole quarantine thing is kind of over now. Just about. You're working and helping your Stevens boys out, coping with maybe not having a season at all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff up in the air right now, but we're getting through it, and obviously now's about the time where, you know, preseason would start and everything, so, you know, we got to adjust to things, you know, adapt and overcome, some would say.
So what are you telling your guys now? I mean, when we spoke about it before, we thought this thing was all going to blow over, right? We spoke about it basically in May when, you know, they had the right after the whole season ended abruptly while everyone was already at nationals, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously back then it was, you know, one of those things where you thought, all right, you know, when this thing ends kind of thing, you know, as soon as it's over kind of thing. But now you realize, you know, where is the end and what is the end going to look like? Because, you know, like you mentioned, who knows what the season's going to be like. Right now they're already talking about getting started in January and who knows what it looks like, you know, as far as, you know, what teams are going to have to do to really jump through the hoops to make things work. So it's kind of still up in the air, you know, 5-6 months later. It's still a pretty crazy situation.
So what are you telling these guys right now? How are you keeping them motivated? I'm sure for some it's kind of hard to get motivated. Usually by September now, guys are in school, seeing each other, you know, getting those workouts in, those off-season workouts, right?
Yeah, I mean, we both know, right? We both came from wrestling, so it's kind of, especially at this level, you know, the college level, you understand, it's an all-year thing, you know, so whether there's a season or there's not a season, you're in it, you know what I mean? You're training, you're getting ready, and, you know, as Gary Mezzacapa says, Iron Horse, you know, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So the idea is, regardless, don't even consider what might be or the possibilities of what's going to happen, what might happen, what could happen, just, you know, stay ready.
Stay ready, yeah. How much of it was a shock? I mean, I still can't believe they had the coaches meeting. Everyone was there. Guys were warming up. They were getting ready. And it was a smart move on their part to say after the coaches meeting that it was canceled. Who could have imagined what would have happened if they said that at that coaches meeting, man?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, even then, right, even still, so many things are up in the air. So I'm sure at that time they weren't completely sure with what was going to happen or how to even really go about these things. And everything comes down from somebody, right? So I'm sure the guy above whoever doesn't know until the guy above whoever tells them this, that, or the other thing. So, I mean, who knows if they had that information at the time? Maybe, you know, maybe they found out right after. It could have been. I do remember at that time, you know, NBA games, you know, both teams were on the court and they called it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't much different for us, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody was at nationals, the coaches were at the meeting, and the next thing you know, they called it. So it was one of those really weird times. And again, we're not, you know, we're living through something that no one's ever lived. You know, it's unprecedented.
Unprecedented.
So it's pretty. No one knows anything, but like I said, if you know, you just try to keep some sense of normalcy and continue to, you know, move forward on whatever you're doing. It's kind of how you approach it.
And finding a way, right? I feel like you can't sit on your couch and not do anything. Especially, if you're still in college, you still have at least 2 years left of competition. Maybe one, you feel uneasy if there's going to be a season or not, but you still got to find a way, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think and it applies to a lot of things in life, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a fork in the road.
Yeah.
What do I do here? Coronavirus. What do I continue to train and put my best foot forward, or maybe does it cause me to take another route? And I think this is that fork in the road that a lot of people really have to look in the mirror and decide, am I going to continue? Am I going to push through this? Or is this thing going to push me into a different direction, whatever it may be, for better or for worse?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the situation where I think a lot of people kind of find themselves, what am I going to do now that this situation is in front of me?
Yeah, you being a coach now, and I don't know if you talked to, Favia or not, do you think there's going to be a season? How do you think it's going to go?
Honestly, without even considering is there going to be, is there not going to be, like I said before, the mindset is it's going to be a season where we're going to keep pushing forward, we're going to keep training, we're going to, again, put our best foot forward, and we're going to work to win a national title, whether there is one or there isn't one.
Right.
That's not a thought in our heads.
Try to make it as business as usual as you
usual.
could. So, I met some of the Stevens guys, and they're very pumped, to have you as a coach. And I can see why, man. We're teammates, we're best friends, and, they're probably super pumped to have you. Someone like that in the room, wrestling with them and just giving them knowledge. What is some information you give them and just experience that you have taught them on the mat? Because now it's been 2 years, right? You've been with them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, right, you don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, right? I'm sure, I enjoy being there. I hope they enjoy having me. But at the same time, no, like I said, I love being there. The guys, they work very hard, and that's really all you can ask for, right?
Yeah.
It's just hardworking people. And I feel like when you get around people with the same mindset and motivations as you, it's very easy to kind of to mesh with those people. And that's what you have over there. You have a lot of like-minded people who just want to work hard and be the best they can be. So it's very easy for me to jump on board with that. And just being there, telling those guys, it's pretty much what I tell them, you know what I mean? Just work hard. Work hard and good things will happen. Right. You might not always see it right away. You might have to play the long game with it. And I've played the long game in a lot of situations, and it'll work out. It will always work out, whether it's in the form of medals or in the form of just characteristics that you carry with yourself throughout the remainder of your life. It'll work out in the long run if you just work hard.
And life experience, right? How many athletes will be able to say, hey, I wrestled during the pandemic, right?
Yeah,
that's
right.
another experience and another kind of, I don't know if I would call it an accolade, but that's a pretty big, kind of like a big deal. Like, nothing has happened like this really ever, right?
Yeah.
It really is adversity for every wrestler because injuries happen, right? Other stuff happens that's either in your control or out of your control. This is something that's literally out of your control.
Yeah, and I think, again, that's kind of how you have to approach it, right?
Yeah.
A good coach, Goodale, would always tell us, control the controllables.
Right. Control
the controllables. And like you said, that's out of your control. You can't control there being a global pandemic.
Yeah.
You can't control, what the governors or whatever other officials have to say about it or tell you to do about it. Control what you can control.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you can control if you go out there and get that workout.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can't go to the gym, but you can still get a run.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe you can't get with the whole team, but you can still reach out to somebody and get some form of something, right?
Yeah.
So control what you can control. I understand, like I said, a lot of things are getting shut down. There's a lot of things up in the air, but there's still a lot that you can control at the same time.
Definitely. And just part of like the competitive nature to just go out there and go for the runs, get in the workout, and even if you're uncertain, right, there's a little bit of that to it too. And you being at Stevens, man, I'm an NYU guy, kind of a rivalry, but I told Big Bruce, it's all right, Scott's my boy, He was like, but he's a Stevens, he's a Duck now. I'm like, no, it'd be all right.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We always joke around, we say the best thing about Stevens is the view of our school. You overlook the dirty Hudson and you see us.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of things that are better about it, but for sure, it's definitely whatever you would call a rivalry, I guess.
Right? So Favia started, I think, when I was like a sophomore. When I was a sophomore in college, he might have been the youngest college coach, right? He was pretty young.
Yeah,
So-
it was a quick turnaround for him. for
So
sure.
how do you get along with him? I feel like you guys would get along pretty well. I mean, he has a very Iowa mentality, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, right? It's very easy to get along with people when you kind of have the same goal, right? The same type of mindset about things. And he, again, hard worker, right? Preaches the hard work, preaches doing it the hard way and really putting yourself into it. So it was very easy when I got there to kind of, like I said, just jump on board with what they already had going on. They had a lot of success before I ever got there. You know what I mean? They were going to continue to have success whether I went there or not, just because of how they operate. And that's something that I had to thank them to be a part of it. You know what I mean? I was thankful for them for letting me in on what they were doing, because it's a great thing that they got going on.
Fit right in, kind of.
Yeah.
And
Start on your feet. You want to get the guy on the ground. You want to get the guy on his back. If you know nothing else, right? If you know nothing else, that's all wrestling is. You got to take the guy down. You got to put him on his back. And if you start there, it's the best place to start. Work your way up from there, Work your way up, learn some technique, learn whatever, but always keep in your mind, it's always as easy as get on top of this guy and put him on his back. That's all it is.
That's all you need to do. That's it. No need to complicate it, right? Just get to the legs, take him down, get him on his back, and no wasted opportunities. That was a big thing that I always took from you, and even watching you wrestle. Right, you get to that leg, you finish it. I remember you were so mad at me because I would get to the leg out of bounds and just let it go out of bounds, and then you just reamed me out. You're like, what are you doing? You had the leg. What you got? Finish it.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where it's like you realize over time, especially, I mean, you know too, right? As you get better and as you wrestle these better guys, the same way you're going to be, you're stingy about the points. Someone gets to your leg, you might not get to the leg again, right? Some match might end. That might be the only takedown in the match. So it's definitely important to have that sense of urgency, right? Urgency. I got this leg. I'm not letting this guy go. I'm not letting him, get out of bounds. I'm not letting a stalemate go. That's why I always say never wrestle for a stalemate. I hate when kids just when both guys just hang out and then boom, stalemate. That's your opportunity, especially defense wins in that position. Stalemate, defense wins. So offensive guys got to be thinking, if this guy stops, I got to keep going. And that was, again, something I feel like I obviously had to figure out as well. And it's one of those things that really helps you jump a level.
what was that transition like from being a competitor to just switch into the coaching mindset?
So, I mean, even, too, right? As we were competing, we were very lucky to come through South Plainfield. So we were always, gifted that opportunity to coach some of these younger guys. Always go back to the room and scrap with these high school guys and give them a little bit of knowledge. So as soon as, competing ended and got into it full time, I felt like I was pretty ready to go as far as, the coaching aspect, but also in the sense of you never really I don't have all the answers, right? And I tell these guys that as well. I don't have all the answers.
Right.
So let's work together here. You know what I mean? Let's
You
find out
you
where
have
we're going.
experiences, though.
I have experience, but I don't
Yeah.
always have the answer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So sometimes in certain situations, you got to look at them and it's like, hey,
Right.
this is part of it, man.
Right.
What do we do here? So
Especially in a situation like this right now, right?
exactly, right? We got to figure it out together.
Figure it out together.
So even through wrestling and stuff, hey, what do I do for this guy? What should I do in this situation?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let's find out.
Yeah, I think the
Let's find
best
out.
the best thing about being a coach, at least for me, is being honest with some of these athletes. Like not only with on mat stuff, but just like life experience. Like especially life as a college athlete. Like come on, like you just came from college. You're not dumb to how a college athlete is or
Yeah.
just a college student is.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's my favorite part, giving guys like lessons and experiences with
The life aspect.
of being a college athlete, in the classroom, socially and on the mat. I think that's one of the better parts,
Yeah, no, it's great to be able to.
There goes the deer head.
It's great to form some of these, relationships as far as on the mat and off the mat because there's a lot, and life doesn't end with wrestling.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that, right?
Yeah.
We graduated, finished competing and everything. So it's good to see who these kids are as, human beings, not just as wrestlers, but
Right.
human beings. and a lot of them, they're outstanding individuals, so it's good to be a part of.
Yeah, so for a lot of these athletes, I think, man, this could be it. With COVID, we might have a season. And I feel like, at least when I was in college, I was like, man, if I didn't have wrestling, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And you don't know that until after you're done. There's like so much more. I feel like when I was going on job interviews, like they didn't even care if you were an All-American or if you were just a wrestler or if you were just on a team for a year.
Yeah.
So when you had wrestling on, it was no big deal. But to us, it's like, dude, we worked, over 15 years for that goal just to have it on a piece of paper and someone go, oh, that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. At the same time, just like you said, you dedicate so much time to it. And I think it goes into a little bit of what I said earlier, right? It's those characteristics that you can keep on. You're right. I mean, maybe they won't care about what you accomplished or how long you did it for, but, like I said, controlling the controllables and always putting your best foot forward, working hard. Like, those are the things that the sport taught me. Yeah. And those are things that are undeniable when you do get into the job world, right? Yeah. Everyone's going to love a hard worker. Right. Everyone's going to love somebody who's doing what they can. And those are the things that you have to thank the sport for. Yeah, and it builds yourself as a person. Every wrestler, it's like in our DNA now. It's part of our culture. Yeah. Especially coming from the great town of South Plainfield, man. That's like inbred in us, in our culture, right? Yeah. So, we grew up together wrestling, and it was the thing to do in town. Yeah. Both of our parents did it. Yeah. It was just the thing to do. And I tell everyone, it's like South Plainfield, man. It's like, in Texas where they had, football's big, Friday night football. For us, it was, that's what it was, right? Yeah. And, just growing up with you, it's like, you being a year older than me, like, it was very competitive. I'm like, man, I got to be like Scott, man. He's working hard. Can't let him outwork me. Well, that's good, right? Everyone needs, something like that as far as all that goes. And I felt the same way, right? It's kind of the people you're around that kind of push you to get better. And I'm very thankful. Yeah, and I feel like even in high school, like, you had that coach's mind where you would help me out with cutting weight, stuff on the mat and stuff. So, it wasn't like Anthony and Troy where they would just beat the crap out of me, humbled me. Yeah. But I pulled the old, how'd you get that, Scott? How'd you get that takedown on me? Yeah, and I know 80% of the time that was just to catch your breath. You just wanted to conversate. Last time we ever wrestled. Yeah. Cut the tape. Last time we ever wrestled was both in our prime. Maybe a month or two before Nationals. We did a best out of, was it out of 5 or out of 3? I don't even remember. I beat him in a best out of 3. I beat you in a best out of 3. Yeah, and he only took 6 breaks. Mark that down. Maybe a month and a half before the national tournament. Yeah. I still show your single leg to everyone, by the way. I used it in college, and I use it now. I call it the Scott Delvecchio finish. I like that. You have the leg, and you keep the arm inside the knee area. Very smart. Yeah. It's technique, man. Yeah. No, but for sure. And same thing, right? It's when you do it with people, that you enjoy, friends and everything, like you said, Troy, Anthony, Tyler, Corey, Dylan, all those guys, it's fun, right? You don't realize how hard you're working because it's so fun, right? And then you look back and it's like, wow, how did I get so good? And it's like, I was having so much fun I didn't realize. Yeah. So that's something that you have to forever grateful for. Yeah, and like with our town, it started when we were kids. It was like we had that mentality of getting better, competing with each other. Yeah. And you don't see that in every town. Like, now I'm helping out at Berkeley Heights and stuff. It's like they're creating it, and it's interesting to see. It really takes a team effort, and it felt like when we did it, when we were the number 1 team in the state. It felt like all those years paid off, not only for us but the community, right? The parents, the coaches, the rec coaches, the middle school. It felt like everything came together for those moments. It was pretty cool, wasn't it? Now that I think about it now. Yeah, looking back, right? For sure. Yeah, because they were all part of it, man. They were all part of it. And there's so many, intricate little pieces, right, that go into it that maybe at the time you don't really realize, right? But everybody who helped out, everybody had a hand in it, kind of thing. And again, that's something that not all towns have. So it's something that, it's important. It started with rec when Mr. DiBiase would friggin' run us to the ground and we would cry for Mr. Ashnall. I would always say too, even in college, I'm like, I will never complain about a workout because I've already had the hardest workout when I was 8 years old. So remember when Mr. Ashnall would go, oh God, thank God. Yeah. Mr. Ashnall's here. We can finally start practice after an hour of conditioning. Finally drawing some moves, man.
And
Yeah.
that's part of Mr. Ashnault, man. He's still in. I said, when are you gonna give a break? Anthony won a national title. At least take a week or two off, my man. Come on.
And that's
He's
like
still
the South
mopping
Plainfield pride.
mobs, getting ready for the fall, the spring sessions, right?
That's the pride of it, man. That's where it is, and that's where it starts. So
Yeah.
it's good to see he's still around, and hopefully, we can continue to do what South Plainfield's always done, kind of thing.
Right.
We'll see
Yeah.
though. Be hard to top. You set the bar pretty high.
We did. I don't think any public school would be the number one team in the state ever again. What do you think?
No, you're right. It's kind of a private school's world right now. But again, man, I'm sure it comes in waves, right? So
Yeah.
maybe next generation, who knows?
Yeah. And then, just winning 2 state titles in South Plainfield, the other schools, that would have been, you would have been the best guy. But then you had Anthony there, 4-time undefeated, was not animosity, but was there was a competitive nature, right?
Well, yeah, competitive, not so much competitive. Yeah, it was competitive in the sense that like
we're all friends too, so it was.
Well,
like,
yeah, it was a sense like I want to accomplish great things as well,
Yeah.
but it was also more like him doing that kind of like opened my eyes, like, oh, it's possible.
Possible,
you know
right,
what
yeah.
I mean? But always, that man won everything, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was kind of like, let me try to win something. Let me try to win something.
Yeah.
It wasn't competitive as
Yeah.
in like, oh, let me go out there and be a 4-time
Yeah.
state champ. I already messed that
Yeah.
thing up the first 2 years.
Yeah.
Couldn't do
Your
it.
favorite moment wasn't actually your moment. It was Troy's moment, and that says a lot about you. Not focusing on just yourself, but the team and everything, and doing your job. With the success of all your teammates and everything, did that motivate you to achieve more, or were you just focused on what do I got to do today to get Scott Delvecchio better?
Honestly, I'm a full believer that if it wasn't that environment with that group, I probably wouldn't even have a career in wrestling, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you said it too, right? I didn't really, do the club thing or whatever. So really, where I got the most out of it was just being in, when we had high school practice or middle school practice or rec practice, the scheduled practice. I went in there and I got the most out of it. But the reason I got the most out of it was because, you see those guys having success, and it's like, I want to have fun. It's like, hey, let me have fun. So you get in there, and it's like you want to battle, right? And that's why I try to tell these guys, that I'm around now, but Stevens and even that I've come in contact with throughout my career. Sometimes the best thing you can do is get beat up, right? Sometimes the best thing you can do is get beat up. And wrestling with those guys, I got beat up until I learned how to, 1, take the beating, and then 2, give a little something back, right? And it's hard to beat a guy who's never going to give up, right? I mean, you can dominate somebody, and they just keep coming, slowly wearing at you. And I think that's kind of what carried me into my career was, getting beat up so many times until it kind of makes you tougher, and you have no choice but to, either stay down or get better. And over the years, like I said, I got a little bit better. And then, in the recent years, you kind of look back and you kind of appreciate it. Like I said, how far you come. But I would not have come that far if I didn't have those guys in front of me to chase down. You know what I mean? Like I said, competition, right? Compete. If I didn't have those guys to compete with, who knows, man? I don't know. Maybe I would have ended up playing football, right?
Yeah, no, right? And I remember I took my fair share of lumps from you guys. Me being a year younger than you guys, it toughened me up. And going into college, right? I knew, right? I'm like, there's gonna be no other room tougher than the room I was in South Plainfield. And right off the bat, me being a freshman in college, I knew none of these people were gonna be tougher than a Scott, than an Anthony, than a Troy. Troy's heavy ass hand fighting, man. I was like, there's no way these guys maybe technical wise, but not as tough as the room I was in. No. And that's what made me tough right off the bat. And guys hated drilling with me. They hated it. And I'm like, this was just another day at the office. This was me drilling. And,
I remember too, we used to make jokes, obviously the coach would tell you, oh, 30-second go, 30-second live go. And then like 4 minutes later, blow the whistle. And we always laugh like, oh, you got caught up watching,
Yeah.
It's so much talent in the room. You're watching just great wrestling just all around you. Right. And I don't understand how you can be in the presence of that and not get better. And that's just a contagious thing. And obviously that's something that Ashnault carried to Rutgers, right? It's just a contagious thing. And you touched on it too, right? When someone doesn't just sit there and tell you what to do or tell you what, how to be, or you should do this or you should do that, but instead they just shut up and they do what they know they have to do to be what they want to be, it's easy to follow, right? You're going to get a lot of friction when you try to tell someone to do something, but you just go and do it. It's crazy how many people will just, come up and follow your lead, and that's something that these guys really, really did, right? They just were great examples to follow, and you can't beat it. You know what I mean? Even though we were the same age, it was like I had to get my knowledge from those guys, right? Every time they came in a little bit tougher, it made me a little bit tougher because I was able to, adapt and wrestle with it. And that's just something that just helps all around,
Yeah, it fed off of you, and it fed off of me too. I was like, like you said, it wasn't like someone was telling us, we were leading from the actions, you know what I mean? It wasn't someone saying you need to do this, this, and that. No, it was like, all right, they're doing that, they're having success, they're winning. I'm gonna do whatever they're doing.
Yeah,
They're beating me up. All right, tomorrow I'm gonna get tough. I'm just gonna get after it,
Yeah.
Because you see that now today with work and everything. How much of an effort are you going to put in if, your boss or someone at the higher level tells you, all right, go do this, then, it's kind of like not a half effort, but it's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But if you do it yourself and you
Yep.
figure it out yourself, how much more of an effort do you put in?
Yeah. And it's not even like, it's kind of like, the old, changing a tire, right? You ever heard the story? Like you get a flat tire, you pull over the side of the road. No one's just going to pull over behind you and change the tire for you, right? But if you get out and you start changing that tire, someone's probably going to come up and help you, right? Because you're doing it, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just something of that nature. When you see someone doing something, instead of them, trying to preach it to you, it's so much easier. And I think that's all around. I think anybody would agree that, if you start doing it and you show me why it works, I'm right behind you doing it. You know what I mean? But if you're just going to sit here and talk and talk and talk and say, do this, not that or this, what do you have to show for it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's more of guiding you, guiding you through actions. And,
yeah.
That's why I kind of stole your single leg in college. I'm like, well, Scott's doing it, so why should I change?
Yeah, give it a shot, right? It works.
Yeah.
It's a shot.
Yeah, so going into Rutgers, right? Going having a legendary, junior senior year undefeated state champ, did it kind of like bother you that, if you were at any other school that would have been a big deal, but there was Anthony there, he was a 4-time undefeated state champ. Did that bother you, or did that motivate you to compete at the next level?
No, and like I said, it's kind of a reoccurring thing, right? For me personally, I didn't really realize where I was at, or like the level of accomplishment, right? I mean, growing up, I remember watching the state tournament, and it was like you got to be a wrestling god to do this, right? Because you're younger, and that's what it looks like. You see these bigger guys, these high school guys going out there, and it's like, to me, that would never happen. I would never be wrestling out on that island mat in the finals of a state tournament, right? And then, like I said, you go through life in South Plainfield as a wrestler, and you start getting better and better and better, and winning and winning and winning, and next. That, like I said, I didn't look at it like, oh, I'm a 2-time state champ. I'm a big tough guy. Like, no. Did I do everything? Obviously not. That kid won it 4 times. He's right next to me. You know what I mean? I don't have to go very far to find someone who did better. So it was that's another thing, as much as they helped me get better at wrestling, it's helped a lot keeping me level-headed, right? Because I probably easily could have gone off the deep end in that department, but it's hard to, well, how are you the best? How are you gonna walk around like you're the best? And the guy right next to you did it 4 times, you only did it twice. It's like I didn't even think like, oh, I just won states twice. To me it was like I just wrestled.
Yeah, it kept that chip on your shoulder, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it like I said, very easy to keep you level headed and just with all the talent that you're around. It very very humbling, right? Between Desanto, Heilmann, Hunt, Ashall, I could win a state title, go into practice the next day, and get my ass kicked. So very easy to stay humble.
Yeah. So no, I like to think about it more as being able to watch that, right?
Yeah.
Being able to be a part of it. Not only that, but being able to practice with them and compete.
Yeah.
All those guys. Obviously,
Yeah. Troy, dude. Yeah, I think Troy would probably be, and it's so sad to not see him win a state tournament. But I feel like he's the best wrestler never to win a state title. I mean, it's a terrible, not a terrible wording, but it's like he honestly was so good, man. Like out of everyone in the room, man, Troy was tough to go with.
Yeah.
Man. He would hand fight the crap out of you.
Yeah.
I'd be coming out like this. Oh man, my neck, bro.
No, and that's everybody, right? Because everyone in that room they all had a part. I think we all kind of had a part in each other's success, kind of thing. And you're not going to find that really anywhere else. Especially, not only were we all wrestling at such a high level, but we were all such good friends, kind of thing. So it was awesome to do. And like I said, that goes back to what I was saying before. You're having so much fun doing it that you forget that it's supposed to be hard work.
Yeah, and we were a unit. Like we cared about how each of us wrestled. Yeah. It wasn't just my job. It was everyone's job. And like even if I won a match but I didn't get bonus points, you're throwing your head, you're mad. Because it was a team effort, and that's something McCann always preached: team. Yeah. And it was. You guys were our family. It was a team effort. Yeah. And then going back to Anthony and you, I feel like you guys had the same mentality, but just 2 different training, techniques. You know what I mean? It was like you kind of like I felt like you would lift early in the morning, right? But you wouldn't tell anyone. I knew you would lift in the morning, right?
Yeah, it wasn't about like not telling anybody, but like it kind of goes into do what you got to do when you got to do it. Right. And if I'm doing what I got to do, and that's just how I got to do it. But
it wasn't like you went to like all these clubs. You like went to a lot of like tournaments and stuff, right?
Yeah, I went to tournaments. I always had fun competing, but I mentioned this also on that podcast with Anthony. I was lucky enough, those guys would go out to the clubs and they'd get better and they would learn how to do this, that, and the other thing, and then I would, just by wrestling them, would learn that. Yeah, I would learn everything. So I kind of got
the you're smart. Oh man,
of it all. Maybe not on purpose. Yeah. Again, I was never one to. I would get bored easily. I don't know. Right. I had like ADD. I don't know. Whatever it was.
Well, I would always hitch rides with you to like Iron Horse or like just random places we were going, tournaments and stuff.
So it was a lot of tournaments. I don't think I'd be able to sit in the room and just go over a move for 2 hours straight without there being something more to it. And everyone learns differently, right? So I think that's just how I had to do it. Right. Maybe if I did it the other way and I went to clubs, maybe I would have fell out of love with it. Maybe I wouldn't have competed as long as I think
that's just you being a competitor, right? You want to go to those tournaments.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Allen Iverson talking about practice. I want to play the games, bro.
Yeah, no, exactly. Don't get me wrong. You need to practice. You do. But at the same time, it's like, what are you practicing for?
Yeah.
To compete.
Always ready to compete. That's why I wrestled so many matches in college. Like, why am I practicing all this time if I'm not going to go to the matches during the weekend?
Exactly.
And I always argued with my coaches and some of my teammates with it. Oh, it doesn't matter until March. It doesn't matter until March. Yeah, then why are you practicing? Honestly, it's like, come on. Yeah. What, are you just going to practice? Like,
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I definitely hit some
points where you said March, right? Yeah, but I feel like if you keep on competing and you like competing, then it's like it makes practice so much better.
Yeah, for sure.
Having that goal for the goal is to wrestle in that match, right?
Yep, exactly.
To get to March, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you get there, it's second nature, kind of.
Exactly.
Right.
Always second nature.
And you just being competitive now. You got your 2 brothers. Well, Zach's done. Zach's a state champ. Yep. But then you have Jake. I'm sure they're very competitive with you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And what's funny is Zach is so much bigger than you, so it was like he was probably wrestling with you since he was like in 5th grade.
Yeah. And I still got the upper hand.
Still got the upper hand.
Zach,
even today.
Zach,
right?
if you're watching this, I still got the upper hand.
I need Zach to do a jazz tip of the day.
Yeah.
And Mr. Dell too, man.
Oh,
Big
man.
Scott, the man that invented bad moves.
You're right.
He's got to do the jazz tip. He'd have an epic one. And that's the thing, man. Every time I'm over your house, it's always Mr. Dell always just spitting some knowledge, some blue collar knowledge,
Some
man.
blue collar
Some
knowledge.
blue collar knowledge,
It's the best
bro.
kind of knowledge.
Yeah. So that was basically your training too. Like during the summers and stuff, you would work at his landscaping company.
Yeah, that's what I always told the guys too, right? You got that grown man strength, you know what I mean? Pushing a wheelbarrow around all the time and carrying bricks and stuff, and it sucked. It was terrible.
And
but-
dealing with a grumpy Italian guy yelling at you all day, right?
that's where you get the mental.
That's where you get the mental
That's where you get the mental toughness, mentally strong. But no, again, it's one of those things. You know, it's like Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
It's like Mr. Miyagi. you
So
know
the
what I
Italian
mean?
guy throwing shit at you.
Yeah,
right?
12 hours of pushing a wheelbarrow around. Like, what the hell am I doing this for? And then you turn around and you just start pushing people around. It's like, oh shit.
On the mat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
there you go.
So it's Mr. Miyagi in a really weird way.
Yeah. So how was the transition from, South Plainfield and the Rutgers? I know a lot of our teammates went there with you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I had that, that weird in between. I was going to NC State, and then I decided not to go there anymore. And originally, I was like, all right.
Yeah, I remember you were all set at NC State. You
Yeah.
decked out in the gear. I stole some stuff from you. Rocking at NC State. Hunt was at NC State.
Yeah. But I decided not to go, and then I was in a weird situation where I was like, all right, wrestling's over. I'll just go to school and figure it all out. And I was like, maybe I'll reach out to Ashnall.
Yeah.
See
what he can do.
I think I literally texted Ashnall and said, hey, Rutgers need another South Plainfield guy.
Yeah. I'm available, right?
And then, so yeah, he put me in touch with the coaches. I ended up going over there. And then, so the transition was kind of easy as far as, Rutgers, Jersey guys. You already know a lot of the guys.
Right.
You're kind of familiar with a lot of people. So it was easy in that aspect. As far as like the college wrestling, I had to cut a little bit of weight, so it was a little bit different there.
Yeah, I remember that freshman year, you were 25. I would go to
Yeah.
your matches. I'm like, dude, this is not Scott.
Yeah.
Because you wrestled like 130, 133 since middle school. And to say, I think you're still 133.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it was kind of a weird year, but that's one of those situations. If I could get that one back, maybe. I don't ever want to say like, oh,
Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right?
coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? It is what it is. But if I could go back and they were like, hey, one thing you can change about your college career, it'd probably be doing that freshman year a little bit better.
Right.
But
And what was the key difference between like just McCann and Goodale? I remember McCann, man, we were kind of all afraid of him going to freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
But I figured like you broke him in a little bit. You would make those bets with him like, if I tech this guy in the first period, I'll get some papaya,
Yeah, no, it was fun. Both of them. McCann, I had a great time. Goodale, I had a great time.
My favorite story though is when I'm gonna say his name because he was a high level wrestler from Watchung Hill. You teched him with the same shot to the same leg in the district finals, dude. And I've never seen anything like that. Literally, same setup, same shot. You took him down with it, and their coaches were like, "He's taking the same shot. He's doing. He got you again." That was my favorite, dude.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that before. That was your senior year too, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, no, it's times like those, man. You cherish it forever. You being able to again wrestle at a level like that with all your friends. It's a great time.
Like, I remember we were watching it, like me and Anthony and Shore were like, "How? It's the same shot." And you were literally saying to their coaches, "You're like, I'm gonna do it again. You're gonna do it again. You did it again." He goes, "Oh, he did it again. What do you want?"
Yeah, exactly. No, like I said, man, it was a fun time. And those are the times that you really look back on, like we're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
You look back on it, it's like
Senior year, right? You decided to play football before the wrestling season. How was that?
That's it was good, man. It was an experience. So the whole thing was, it's kind of one of those situations where like, I like to screw around or whatever. So I said it. I'm wrestle this year just to get some rise out of the coaches. And 1 month I said I was gonna do it. The next month I said I was gonna do it. Next month it's like, football starts. So I'm like,
Yeah.
God.
I think I was
I gotta do it now, you know.
I think I was the only one to believe you. I think I was the only one to believe you that you were gonna play football.
Yeah. No, so that's exactly how it all happened, man. Like I said, I didn't realize while the joke was continuing. I was like, you know what? Boom! I woke up. Hey, practice starts. I'm like, shit. Hold on. Let me strap up my cleats. Like I said, man,
Yeah.
I'll do it. Let's do it. And
Spur of the
it was
moment.
definitely a great time. It was a great time though, and it was definitely different, you know, to mix it up. Like I said, I wrestled so many years. It was good to see a different team and see how they function, you know, and see what the differences were, and kind of pick it apart like that. Obviously, I didn't even finish the season, so
Yeah.
obviously that's how that went. But it was a good time though. I definitely made the most of it.
Oh yeah, you went through the bulk of it, and you still played. Like you said, you didn't want to live that year knowing, the regrets. Like, what happens if I didn't? You know what I mean? You did. You figured it out. You got that itch, and that was it. It was what it was. Not a lot of, because you were a state champ the previous year. Not, I would say, 99% of wrestlers probably would have never done that. Never played football your whole high school career, and then that's it. My senior year, that day up, practice, strap up them cleats and do it.
and that even goes back to what I was saying before. It's like you don't realize how far you've come, right? So being in that moment, I didn't realize, like you said, a lot of people wouldn't do that. To me, it didn't even cross my mind. I was like, what do you mean? Like, a lot of kids want to play football. A lot of kids do play football. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, like, looking back, I was like, wow, that was pretty dumb of me. But
Yeah.
Also looking back, it's like, yeah, shit, it's pretty cool, man. I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad I did it, and it's a hell of an experience for sure.
Yeah. What was your favorite moment of the whole time? I know we're going backwards now, but it's so hard to neglect those times.
Oh yeah, for sure, right? Because it was such, it's pretty prominent in our lives. But best time, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. Best moment, I said this before, 100%. Troy Boy beating that. What was he? Armenian,
the Romanian guy, yeah,
whatever it was,
coming in saying that he was gonna beat Asheville.
The USA chants, it
J
was
Glove saying too lit.
Electric. It was electric, and honestly, like I've had some fun times, but that's one of them. I would trade a lot of those fun times for a time like that.
You relive that again.
Yeah, I would love
that, and just the turn up in the locker room before matches. We'd be wrestling like a number 4 team.
Yeah, I would go on record to say we were probably some of the most we were idiots.
In the locker room.
Yeah, we were idiots.
Oh,
sure.
but that was the mood, man. We were all enjoying it. We were all enjoying the time.
That was.
Yeah, and then after the season, it was even more fun.
Yeah, we had fun. It was fun for sure. But
We made sure to relive it.
I remember even wrestling Bergen Catholic, we never lost to Bergen Catholic, man. I think the best one that everyone remembers was when we wrestled them at Bergen Catholic the year before, and
that's another wild environment, right? I mean, some of these places that I wrestled in high school, with some of the energy of the match, it was crazier than anything I've seen in college. Some of them, it was a crazy experience to have, especially as a high school athlete, and then to be able to carry that into wrestling at Rutgers and at the rack and stuff. It was like you've been there, right?
Yeah, prepared you for it. Yeah. And what was interesting about Bergen Catholic when we wrestled them, that was the beginning of Murderers Row, and we couldn't even warm up like behind our bench. That's how packed it was. And I remember I was like, where do you want me to warm up? And Foster just grabbing my head, just trying, you got to warm up. I'm like, okay, coach. All right, I got it. So then I remember I was the first one up. What did we start at? 160, right? We started at 160 and we lost 160 to, 106, and then me 113. I remember you used to call me, no bonus point Jazz. Oh, no bonus point Jazz going up there. But guess what? Your boy got bonus points. I got the major, right? So when I had to get it, I got it. All right. I got the bonus points when I had to get it.
So that's like a little reverse psychology for you, though, right? I stayed in your head right there. Right?
Yeah.
Scott doesn't think I'm going to do it, so I got to go do it.
Yeah.
Look,
Nope.
you guys did it.
Yeah, no bonus point Jazz. That always, oh man, that used to piss me off so much. But then I knew, I'm like, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna get bonus points. So then I remember I got the bonus points, and then I think for me all the way up to Peyton, right? And Hunt, we got bonus points. We really destroyed them. And I remember your match specifically when you wrestled Melody. That was another thing where people were making a huge deal out of it. And I remember early in my high school career, I always I was focused on the rankings and all that news article clips. And you're one of the ones that said, you don't have to worry about that crap. Just go out there and wrestle. And I remember they used to make a huge deal of that kid. And then you went out there what did he, injury default, or you beat him up pretty good, right?
Yeah, I forget the specifics of the match. He ended up injury defaulting, but yeah, I mean that was a big one too, right? Obviously, like you said, just starting to get some serious notoriety as far as what was going on in South Plainfield. Obviously, we were pretty deep into it by then, but it was definitely a big win. Obviously, pivotal in my career as far as that goes. Kind of that was junior year, led to my first state title. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, stuff like that too, right? The crowd gets you into it, having everyone behind you gets you into it, and then just went out there ready to go, right? Threw it at him, and then whatever happened. I mean, obviously, you're never happy if somebody gets hurt, right? But in a match like that, you'd probably have to rip my head off for me to not continue that match and give up 6 points. And I didn't rip his head off yet, so I don't know what happened, but that was 6 points, and obviously that's huge in a match like that. And you walk away with that, and it's definitely tough to come back. I think we lost the first 7, won the back 7.
Yeah.
Point every win.
Yeah, bonus point every win, yeah.
So, I mean, add that to the list, right? That where do you hear that,
As well as
the back 7
and as well, I would say those South Plainfield kids, man. They're hard to beat.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier too, right? In a match like that, that's where you really got to, round of applause to those guys who were in that front 7 who didn't give up those bonus points.
They didn't,
and
yeah.
I wrestled with them at Rutgers. Obviously, you can shout out to Suriano, but Ryan Walsh went in there into a dogfight. Ryan
Walsh, man. Yeah, he
came out of that thing and he saved points.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing that South Plainfield's known for, you know what I mean? Obviously, we breed some good wrestlers, but some tough kids,
Yeah, tough
they'll
fighting.
out there against anybody, and they'll save you some points, man.
Yeah.
They'll turn the thing into a team sport,
Yeah. Very, very rarely would we get pinned, very rarely.
Exactly. And sometimes that fires you up, right? You got one of these, underclassmen, they got a big match, right? And it's not looking great. Obviously you can kind of tell which way things are going to go. They don't put their head down about it. You know what I mean? They went out there and they just fight. And that's something, especially like I said, that competitive mindset I just love to see it, man. It gets you riled up when you see somebody really just gritty, not giving up points easy, and just fighting. And that's what our guys did. And I think that's a South Plainfield staple.
And then, you go to Rutgers, even the team vibe there is like, that is Jersey wrestling. It was kind of like an extension of kind of like the South Plainfield culture to a little bit, just more, multiplied by the whole state, right? Rutgers is basically Jersey wrestling. Well, not anymore. They got a couple of recruits, but back then,
Yeah, and maybe, to go back to your last question, the difference in it, maybe that's what the difference was, right? Because like you mentioned, in high school, they made it was so much like a team thing, you do this for the people around you, like you got to go out there for the guys around you got to win for the team, be a team guy. And when you get into college, it kind of turns a little bit more into like a, an individual thing. Right. And I'm not going to lie, in high school, it kind of pushed you, right? You kind of had that in the back of your mind, like, I can't lose this match, or I have to pin this guy, or I have to get bonus points, whatever it was. And that gave you an edge, right? And in college, there wasn't, maybe it was my fault, right? Maybe I, misread the room, or maybe it was just like, whatever it was, but I didn't really feel that as much, and I didn't really have that kind of edge in college. It kind of turned more into like you were mentioning before, how am I preparing for March? What am I going to do for March? How does this move me forward?
You were looking ahead instead of looking at
around.
What do we got?
I was looking ahead instead of looking around.
It seemed like every week in the high school we were competing against another top team.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, same thing in college, right?
You are too, yeah.
In the Big Ten, you're competing against all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe that was it too, right? I got to Rutgers, we were in a growing stage.
Right, yeah.
We weren't, I feel like every year Rutgers, gotten better and better and better every year. But at the same time, it took that growing process. So yeah, sometimes somebody would, a team would come in and you get kind of beat up, you know what I mean? And that's humbling, but that's also like, all right, so the team's gonna lose. Let's try to
Make the best
of this, and again, keep going to March. So maybe that was a very stark difference between the two.
Right. But yeah, how was the transition? What were you guys, Big East, right, or something like that? Well, and then you guys eventually went to Big Ten. Was there a big difference? Like, honestly, was there a big difference in the swag you got, like the gear swag from?
Well, I mean, that's another thing too, right? That kind of continued. As you kept moving through the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gear got better and everything. That was just like a
Icing on the cake, yeah.
Yeah, that was like a side note, but it was a huge difference. Like I said, from when I started at Rutgers to where we ended, huge difference, right?
Yeah.
We went from wrestling in college at gym. We'd go to, we traveled to away matches on a bus to wrestle in front of 30 people, and 29 of them were family members.
Yeah.
So, and then you go to the rack where it's like sold out,
Right.
and you have people like chanting your name as if you're like some type of sports superstar.
Right.
And it's like, what? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, when we wrestled in South Plainfield, we pack it up. Not as much at the rack, but
Yeah.
it was still,
No.
we would draw some crowds,
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
I remember we used to sometimes get mad because we had to roll out the other mats, our practice mats, and then away bleachers get out. We'd be like, come on, we got to roll these out.
Yeah, no, so I mean, like I said, every year you kind of got better, and it was all good, right? You had a lot of great times at Rutgers and South Plainfield as well.
Yeah. And then that match, man. Actually, we'll go the year before, right? I think we were sitting at a bar in St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
And I never seen you ever down before, ever. What your plan was that you were going to All-American and say, that's it. I'm done.
My junior year, I planned on All-American and retire. I told a couple of people that. I said, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to become an All-American, and then I'm going to quit the sport.
Yeah. Was it blood round? It was blood round. I was there for it. I met you at the bar after your match. I said, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. You got one more.
Yep. Yep. And that one hurt. That was a tough match, but I mean, who knows? I said that, right? I would retire. Who knows if I really would?
No, I don't think you. I honestly don't think you would. That's why it was like a big joke. Not a joke, but it was like, we bust your balls about it a little bit.
Yeah. Who knows? I'm usually a man of my words. Who knows? But yeah.
But that's another reason why you kind of didn't want a red shirt too, right?
Yeah, the whole redshirting thing. I was real up in the air about it. Don't get me wrong, I love wrestling and everything, but I also understand, like I said, wrestling, it's a part of life, but it's not.
You had a bigger picture in mind, yeah. Well, you still do.
Yeah, exactly. You got a bigger picture in mind, and not only that, but redshirting, to me, if I couldn't make it work academically, right? Like, all right, so now I'm just gonna stretch it and do 5 years.
Right.
To me, it was kind of like a weird thing, and then I ended up actually redshirting, and it was good. I guess, right? It's really up to you to make the most of the red shirt.
You won that open, you won that nice armored head, right?
Oh, that's right.
That was sick. We'd wear it around and stuff.
Yeah, still have that one.
That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah. But again, it's about making the most of it, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff doesn't really necessarily, matter in the grand scheme of things because there's no national tournament, obviously, but you try to do the best every time you're out there, so that's kind of what that was.
What's your favorite Goodale quote? I know the Zanetti's love the one where he goes, "You think going out partying, trying to pick up girls is cool? You know what's cool? Getting your hand raised. That's cool." I think that.
I can almost hear that in his voice, but maybe it's not so much a quote. It's kind of a quote, but I remember I think it was my freshman year. We're at Clarion wrestling a match, and this is to show you how far we've come as a team, Rutgers. We're battling. I think we just lost 2 or 3 straight matches.
Yeah.
I think we're tied going into maybe we're up a couple points going into 184, I believe. And Dan Seidenberg he was sick, had the cold, maybe a little bit of flu, the sniffles, maybe early onset coronavirus. This was a couple years ago, but who knows? And
he was probably patient 0.
Yeah. So very good possibility. We weighed him in, but the idea was, hey, we might be ahead by enough to where you won't have to wrestle. But weigh in just in case. So weighed him in. He's sick. He's sleeping in the locker room at this point. I was 125 at the time, so I finished my match. I got out of there. I'm hanging out in the locker room, and he's sleeping back there. I'm just eating whatever. It's later in the match at this point. Goodale busts the door down, grabs him, and starts shaking him. He's like, "Wake up! We're in a dog fight!" And this kid's just like, "What?" Literally, like, has to. Like, I think Goodale's even helping him, like, put his straps up at this point, and like pushing him onto the mat. And I'm just watching. Again, I'm a freshman, and I'm like, what is going on right now? And he went out there. I think he won that match. We ended up winning the Clarion match, but I love that one. Wake it up, we're in a dog fight. Like, that was always my go-to whenever somebody was like down or you're ready to go out or something. You got to grab them. Like, wake it up, we're in a dog fight. Let's go.
And then finally, that big match, man, with Desanto. I mean, that was the one thing. I wish I stayed in Cleveland for that one. That was, dude, I was watching it on my phone, man, in Cancun, Mexico.
Yeah, leaves to go to Cancun.
Dude, biggest mistake ever. I shouldn't have went. Terrible trip. But anyway, dude, we were all pumped. I was so pumped, man, for you and Troy, but specifically that match, because there was so much hype going around this kid. And I felt like, South Plainfield had your back, but on Twitter, everyone was hyping up this Desanto kid. Even like the people that I were with down there, like even kids on my team at NYU, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you guys don't know Scott. I was like, he's going to win this. I know he's going to win in a legendary way. I'm like, he's going to find a way to win, regardless.
Maybe it was just, I like to tell people, right, like the stars were just like aligned at that point, right? It was just meant to be at that point, because you really break it down. What was it, like 4 or 5 stalling calls to tie them? Well, 4 or 5 stalling calls to get me within a point and then a riding time to tie the match and send it into overtime. And it's one of those things I tell the guys I coach all the time now, right? Smell the blood, right? A shark. Yeah. You're a shark in the water. Smell the blood in the water, right? You get that little scent of it, and you're just like, it just amps you up. Yeah. And that man, I smelled blood like I could have smelled it a mile away. Yeah. He was breaking a little bit, and then going to overtime. And again, once you go into overtime after something like that, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna win the match.
The Kevin Hart quote, man.
I'm gonna win the match.
What was the Kevin Hart quote? Come on.
He wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready. And I just happened to be ready at that time. Yeah. Next thing you know, you stick to it, wrestle till the whistle blows, and next thing you know, the whistle's blowing.
What did he say to your coaches? What did he say to his coaches where you're like, all right, I definitely have it now? Didn't he say something to his coaches?
He was upset about, I think, taking bot. And don't get me wrong, I was not any type of like, oh, watch out for this guy on top, But he was upset about taking bottom, and I knew it. Like once you get into that type of thing, like the blame game or whatever, you kind of know. Like I said, back to that, you smell blood in the water. It was that dude was leaking it, so I was. Yeah, I
felt like he was very unstable in that match. To give up, like, what did the refs say? It was like, come on, man, like.
Yeah. It was like I said, they gave, it was a bunch of, and that's kind of where I go with it, right? Because a lot of people, you can say that. Come on, stall calls, like you get to your point, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but you don't even realize.
It was bad.
The referee. There was multiple times where he didn't call stalling, and he was like, hey man, like start working up.
Pillow on a blanket.
Yeah, the refs even telling him, work up, and I'm like telling the ref, I'm like, hey, shut your mouth, like call a stall. But
dude, it was bad. Like I never seen it was wild. I'm like,
yeah. And again, obviously everybody goes through whatever. I can't tell you what was going on in his head. I can only take account for what I was doing. But I mean, who knows, right? It just happened to be my time,
your
match.
Time, yeah. And, was there a preparation before it, or did you know what this guy was going to? Because I know you. I know, you're going for your stuff.
I saw the opportunity for a little re-attack, run my feet. I ran my feet, and I didn't stop running my feet for a good 10 minutes afterwards, right? And it was actually funny because as it was happening, I didn't really realize it, but a lot of people thought I ran and jumped into the Drexel. He was asking for Drexel at the time. Drexel coach's arms, because as I run, first person I see, like right behind their corner, is Billy Ashnault. I'm like, no way. Where did Billy Esh all come from? So the first thing I think to do in my head is like, let's go, jump Billy Esh's arms. And to me, it was just hilarious, right? How it all just kind of happened. And then, I was lucky enough to have Leo and Pollard in my corner for that match. And, I think it was just an all-around kind of team effort, right? Because it's hard to keep your head in a match like that. Like I said, 6-1, going to the third period, this could possibly be your last match of your career. And it's like, they stayed there, right? Every time I look back, right? Leo sitting there in the corner. All right. I just did it. So it was a great time, right? And it was a great accomplishment. Obviously, I had my guy, Eleazar Luca, stayed out there with me, right? Was there for the support. So that's really what it's about, right? Like I said, I had those guys to celebrate with. To me, everything kind of tied
That's
together.
it.
Yeah, and that was really it. There was no preparation in the sense
You
of
just wrestle your way. That's how you've always been, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you also got to think too. I went to nationals 3 times, lost the first round all 3 times.
Yeah. Wasn't your first rodeo.
Second
Who would
time.
say that Ramos?
Yeah.
Who would say that Ramos would say that to us, right?
It's not my first rodeo.
Or was that Gons? Definitely Gons. Not your first rodeo.
It was not my first rodeo. So I had been there before. And again, the year before I lost in the blood round. So I was like, all right, if there's time to do it, this is my last chance to do it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but there was a lot of pressure behind it. Because in my own head, I was like, hey, what was all this for? You know what I mean? Throughout the entire thing, you think about everything, right? I went down to 25. I had the weird thing with the schools. I probably pissed a bunch of people off. Obviously cutting weight and stuff. You're not the best person. So, what did I do all this for? And I don't want to say, like I said, you carry a lot of other things on. It's not always about the medals.
Right.
But at that time, it was about the freaking medal.
Yeah.
So I needed the medal.
You needed to prove
I needed
it.
the medal.
You needed the validation. You needed the validation.
The medals don't matter, but I needed the medal. I needed the medal.
For your own sanity.
For my own sanity, I needed that medal. So
Yeah.
I won that match, got it. It was big to me. And then, I remember I got off the mat and Donnie Pritzloff was, I don't even know if he cracked a smile at this point. He just puts his hand on my shoulder and says, we're not done yet. And I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah. Well, it was funny because they thought you ran up to the wrong coaches. Didn't you go to Billy A, right?
Billy A was sneaking behind the Drexel corner. Yeah, and I didn't even realize it either until, I started running around like a maniac.
Yeah, the
And
legendary
next-
picture over the guy.
I don't even know what was going on at that point. A complete fool. First thing I do when I look up, Billy A.
South Plainfield guy.
And the best thing,
Run right to a South Plainfield
right?
guy.
And the best thing is like he was just as excited, right? Like he's like mid jump, and I'm just like, yeah.
Everyone thought they were like, why is he running to the Drexel guys?
Yeah.
And only I caught him. I was like, oh, that's Billy A. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but the whole thing was, you watch it back now and it's like comedy.
Yeah.
It's like comedy, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
It was a moment.
It was a moment and a half. And like I said, as soon as I got off the mat, Donnie Pritzloff, I don't even know. He might have cracked like a little smile, like, good job, pal.
Yeah.
It's not over. And I'm like, that's right, it's not over, but like shit.
The Don. I remember when I used to come the summers to train with you guys. I was
Yeah.
always trying to mess with him. Trying to get him to smile his head and call him the Don. Like, come on, Don, get your bench in. Come on.
The Dom. No, and you obviously owe him a lot too, right? He's such an intense guy, and it kind of like, that's what you need to be in a lot of situations. And thankful to him as well. And it's the same thing, right? He said that to me, and then I went right into the next match. A lot of people bring up the Desanto match, and it's like, all right, like nothing even happened after that.
Right.
I still won a match
still
after
got
that.
your way, yeah.
I didn't do good at all. Let's not even talk about the next day.
Yeah.
Scratch that.
Yeah.
But right after that match, I had another match, and I won that one as well. So
Yeah. That's your competitive edge. That's like what was funny always about you was like just different ways you did just to compete and make it more fun. Like the funny story you have with Zach, right? With Zach Even Esh, he was your strength coach at Rutgers.
That's right.
Those little things where the other guy's name was Scott, right? That he was a trainer at Lehigh.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm the real Scott, right?
Yeah. Well, what happened was we were lifting, right? And I was always into lifting. Always lifted the most weight. Obviously,
There he goes.
you can tell. Always lifted the most weight. So it was just another morning, another day in the office. Somebody had mentioned to me, he used to coach or weight lift at Lehigh.
Right.
Someone mentioned to me, hey, like Zach commented on this kid's Instagram,
Uh-huh.
the Lehigh kid's
Yeah,
Instagram.
he was just stirring the pot.
And no, they look to me
Yeah.
like, oh,
What are you gonna do
let's
about
rile
it?
Exactly.
Let's rile him up.
It's early in the morning. I'm over here dedicated to the grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lifting these things. I'm like, oh, well, I guess got to turn up right now.
Yeah.
So I said, yo, Zach, saw you on Instagram. What's that about? And he obviously, I was kidding. And I just kind of put it on him. I just dropped right on him. He's like, no, man. Like, come on, man. Come on. And I'm like, yeah. And it blew over. Like I said, it was a joke or whatever.
It was pretty funny though.
But it was funny. And then I ended up, I
beating him, right?
I wrestled that kid right after that Desanto match, and I ended up beating him as well. So, Zach, I'm the real Scott. Remember that.
Remember, don't you ever forget.
Don't you ever forget, Zach. Yeah. No, but he was great too, obviously, right? Again, a lot of moving parts, and having Zach around definitely helped push it.
Yeah.
I was big into the curls, all day with the curls.
Hey,
big on
curls
the
for
abs.
girls, right? Yeah.
Curls and abs, really.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Upper body business, right?
The business, always. So.
So now you work for Alston Real
Alston
Estate
Construction.
Construction. Really? Why do I always think it's real estate? It's not
It
real
is.
estate. It's construction.
Yeah.
Right? With Bullet Bob, the legend, Bob Murray.
The legend. Yeah, no, it's good. And again, it's one of those opportunities that I got kind of through wrestling, right? So obviously, Joe Fabia, got me in the coaching job, and then he was like, oh, I got, this on the side as well. So I got right into that, and it's been real good, and everyone's been real good to me. Like I said, as far as Joe and
Yeah.
Anthony Bonaventura, he's the other assistant, all great, super easy to get along with, super easy, to get behind as far as, what we preach and everything. And that was just another extension of it where,
Right.
it's just great people to be around, and it just all worked out really, really well.
Right. And it's hard to not get along with you, It's
You say anything?
well, I mean, it's hard for me to say. I'm one of your good friends,
Yeah.
We
Other
didn't-
people might say something
Oh
different.
yeah, we didn't get invited to all the parties, so we made our own.
Still making our own.
Yeah, that was funny, man. There was a lot of nights where we're like, it's just me and you, Scott.
Always made
This
it
group
work.
doesn't like us. So what are we gonna do tonight?
We definitely helped
Yeah.
in a
And we
couple situations.
we still do. We still make our own moves,
No, it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even now with you, Laser, having your own coffee, right? That's
Yeah.
the next move.
Yeah, so I
Coffee.
mean, me and Eleazar obviously got this going on, Bergen area Dragons and everything. He started that up at Bergen.
Put this up. Look at that.
And obviously he does a great job with it, and he's a great all-around coach, right?
Yeah.
Got a lot of these little guys in here working really hard, and it's great to see them grow and everything.
Yeah.
And it's same thing, right? He's got a great personality for it, and these kids just learn. He knows how to reach the kids.
Sometimes I find it easier to teach kids like middle school and younger because they just soak everything in, man. They match your intensity, it's great.
No, for sure.
And you match theirs as well.
Yeah, and it also has a lot to do with, being able to reach them in a way, right?
Right.
Because you can't really talk to them the way you would, a high school or college guy. And I think a lot of it also is the kids. They're not old enough to have that ego yet, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna tell a little kid, like, hey man, try it this way.
Try this way, right.
They're not gonna turn around and
Right.
say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking
Yeah.
about. You know what I mean? They might turn around and say, I'd rather be watching Power Rangers or something,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's the lack of the ego, and they kind of go with a lot of the things a little bit more. And like you said, they're at an age where they're sponges and they want to learn, so it's really good to see, and
Yeah.
it's a really good thing going on.
And it's great giving back to the coaches that we have. Like I said, what I tell a lot of people, I'm a product of my coaches and everyone that's been a part of my life. Like I said with your single leg, I call it the Scott Delvecchio finish. Like I always give people credit.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And same thing with this, obviously, right? With the breakfast buffet, I tell everybody about it. It's a great podcast. Not only that, but like the way you reach, the everyday person, right? It's not necessarily, you could do anything at all and you can make your way onto the breakfast buffet.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of everything, right? Like we talked about, it's the oatmeal.
The oatmeal.
Right?
I remember you caught me off guard. I got to
Yeah.
when we did it on Skype, it was just perfect. It was so like natural. He goes, if you could explain your podcast, what would it be like? I'd be like oatmeal, right? If you were to go to any breakfast buffet, whether it be at a hotel or anything, what do they always have, Scott?
Oatmeal.
They have oatmeal. Now, you can make it either really plain Or you could spice it up a little bit. Put some brown sugar in there. Put some fruit in there. Put some cereal if you're really feeling fancy, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with
syrups,
yeah.
And that's exactly it, right? You never know what you're gonna get with somebody, right? You can bring somebody on and have a conversation about what they're doing for their 9 to 5, and then all of a sudden you find out that they're like, I don't know, like #1 Dungeons and Dragons player in the world.
Yeah.
Like who knows, you know?
Yeah.
But that's what you find out through the breakfast buffet. And that's
buffet.
through like, you know, what you get these guys to do, and I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I believe anybody and everybody should be on the breakfast buffet.
Yeah, because everyone has a story.
Breakfast.
Yeah, I know.
Who doesn't love breakfast?
Yeah.
Big facts.
You gotta have your breakfast. It starts your morning off right.
It does.
Yeah.
And right after breakfast, you have your steak and potatoes.
Steak and potatoes, you know. Wise man once said, "You want to get big, Scott? Steak and potatoes."
Steak and
And you
potatoes.
look like a giant potato. But then you put up some weight, man.
That's what it's about. Right?
No, who told me that was, we called him Chow. He would actually wrestle heavyweight for Rutgers back in the day. He would come into Zach's, he was this giant dude. He would always hike his pants up all the way up to his, like...
Necessary. Very necessary.
But it was funny, he goes, "You kids want to get big? Steak and potatoes." He'd come in and just deadlift like an animal. And as a kid, I was like, I'm cutting all this weight, I wish I got a steak and potato.
That's funny.
It's funny though, it's like how we all are just like friends. Like we have the group chat and everything, we hang out on the weekends, you know.
Yeah.
Not even during the weekends, during the week too. You know, it's still part of our culture. You know,
Yeah,
it's still part of.
Again, it's like one of those bonds you form, right? Because it's kind of like, you know, you went through so much together, you accomplished so much together, and you're still here, right? And we're sitting here talking about Troy Heilmann's bachelor party, right?
Yeah, that's coming up.
Right,
Well, we
so-
just got the text today, honestly. And we're pretty pumped about
but
it.
that's the crazy thing, right? We're talking about, you know, wrestling with each other in middle school and rec all the way through, and now we went from rec pizza parties to your bachelor party, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little bit of a different party, but you know, it's the concept.
Yeah, it's just
friends and everything.
The amount of stuff we went through, and like now we look back at it, it's like everything comes kind of full circle, you know?
Yeah. My favorite shape, a circle.
Circle. Half
circle.
right?
Yeah. Who likes squares? Not me.
No one, right?
So it's important.
Yeah.
And I, again, wouldn't trade any experience for the world. These guys, you guys, right? Friends for life. And it's kind of like...
I tell him, like, Scott's like the older brother, man. I don't have
Twins.
Twins. That's so. Hey, it depends on who we're talking to. If they're listening, you might think we're twins, honestly.
Don't question it. Don't question it.
But that's how it was. Like, I don't have any brothers, but you know, you were probably one of the guys I still go to and everything. I'll still send you pictures or videos. And like, what do you think, Scott? You know, I trust because you're like my brother. I trust you with your opinion on anything.
Yeah. No, and again, that's something I appreciate. I go to you for a lot of things as well. Obviously, always a fun time. always something, man. So it's always just enjoyable, right? It's not nothing that you have to force, or it's never anything that like, you know, I gotta go, you know, do this or that for this person or that person.
What is your favorite Wali moment?
Favorite Wali moment. Man, there's a lot, to be honest with you, man. Wali, he's a character, and again, he's somebody. It's one of the things that make me happy about the sport, right? Because you come across so many different people, and I'm happy I came across him, right? And
did he teach you the sweep single? I think he was one of the guys.
Yeah, he definitely taught me a variation of the sweep single for sure, and it was very good. Wali was always great with the advice, right? You always say.
He always put his.
Yeah.
He wasn't he always said he's not the best wrestling coach, but he's a realist. He was the realist.
And let me tell you, man, real recognized real. It goes a long way because you don't see it so much, right? Somebody who. He would tell you to your face, right? If I was doing something wrong, or if like he saw one of my matches, he didn't like it, he'd tell you, Scott, you sucked. Like I don't know.
He'd tell you straight up. Yeah.
Straight up. And you know what? I love that so much. Like no beating around the bush. Like Scott, you sucked. Like thanks, Wali. Like so I think that, like I said, he was a refreshing type of character to come across, and I'm definitely glad. Even to this day, you know, I could walk up to Wali and I could shoot the shit with him any day, right? So
yeah.
He's given me too much advice to think of anything in general, but
yeah, I remember a lot of his lessons that he gave us when we were kids. I kind of realized what he was talking about now. He was so ahead of his time. You know, he didn't just give us wrestling advice; he gave us real life advice. And if any of you guys know
it took
Wali,
a little growing up to realize, but after all that, man, let me tell you, that guy had advice for everything.
Yeah.
Ready to go to war with that guy. That dude, talk about persistence, man. Anyone out there listening hasn't heard of Wali Muhammad, you got to hear the story of this guy. Honestly, Ray, you should try to get him on this thing.
Yeah, we need to get him on there.
Wild story. That guy is a freaking warrior for sure.
Talking about wrestling saving his life. Wrestling actually saved his life.
Literally, yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, again, great character to come across.
Yeah, not only just a wrestling coach, but a life coach. There's a lot of things, things that I looked at and you probably looked at. We're like, wow, our lives could definitely be a lot worse.
I did a lot of growing up with my
Wally. Yep.
He definitely made me grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
Breakfast buffet. I was waiting to get on this thing.
Yeah.
Going up a bit. Like I said,
We did. This is the second time of us doing it. The Skype one didn't give us justice. Maybe I'll put some clips out.
Yeah.
But we had it. We're always together. Why don't we just put something up?
Yeah.
Right.
And here we are. And
Yeah.
this is us doing it. And
Yeah.
again, I wouldn't mind asking you a question,
Yeah.
right? If I can take over the
You
breakfast
get-
buffet
hey,
for a
you're up.
second,
You have-
right? If
you
I
have
can serve
four.
up some oatmeal.
Serve up some oatmeal.
Right.
Make sure you put some brown sugar or something. Don't just give me the one where you put less water in it. It's all messed up.
Some soupy oatmeal.
Sometimes when you're making oatmeal, you can either put too much water or too less. You gotta find that perfect
The perfect
mix
meat,
on.
yeah. Okay. So with doing the breakfast buffet,
Yes.
right? And everything that goes on as far as the different people that you talk to,
Right.
from all different walks of life,
Yeah.
this, that, or the next thing. Well, do you feel like you get anything out of this? Do you what would some lessons be, or if any, that you would get from talking to all these different people?
Yeah, that's interesting. So, a lot of it is random. A lot of it is people's availability. I try to get people in all aspects. That's the goal, right? I want to get people in all aspects. I'll be honest. A lot of the people that I have been former wrestlers, right? And former amateur wrestlers. But to me, that's interesting because, when I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? And I'm sure a lot of amateur wrestlers are like that too, where they don't know what they want to do. And so many amateur wrestlers, we do so many different things. Construction, some are police officers, some are nurses, some are special ed teachers, some are real estate agents. There's so much wide variety. And what's interesting to me, and this is just the amateur wrestler guys that I had on here, they're in different careers, but their mentality is all the same. They all use the lessons that they've had during wrestling, and they apply it to what they're doing now. And that's just very interesting because, for me, I was like, I was very down because it was like I became an All-American. I'm like, all right, I did all this for, 15 plus years. I put my whole effort into this. Now what do I do? And I went to NYU, so I'm like, okay, I don't want to waste this education.
Yeah.
And it didn't take a talk with maybe, talking with you or talking to a couple people, Bob Backlund, a couple people, to really focus my vision of what I really want to do now and use my skills and everything to what I want to do now. So it doesn't necessarily validate my mentality now, but it puts my mind at ease, okay, I'm doing something, I'm using my skills in a way that other people are too. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think one of the things that I kind of get, Greg, because I try to dabble in a lot of the different interviews that you do in the podcast, and throughout all these people, to me, it's kind of interesting to see how everyone's kind of living their own life, right? It's kind of a different perspective, right? No matter who it is, when, the last time you talked to that person or what they did prior, everyone kind of is living their own life. They have their own job with their own problems, their own successes, their own whatever it is. And to me, I think that's really the backbone of the breakfast buffet.
Yeah.
Right? It's everybody coming together and showing, no matter what you do, we all kind of live in the same type of way, right? We all have to do our job, and we all have to go about these things the way that we need to go about them. And it's really eye-opening. And like I said, man, props to you for really bringing this to light.
I appreciate it. And I had this idea in college. We'd mess around, me and my roommates, be like, what do you think this is? The breakfast buffet? You can just get what you want? So I was like, it's the perfect thing to call it, the breakfast buffet. And it was during the pandemic where I was like, what can I do to pass this time up? You know, I can't be wrestling in the ring because shows are closed. How do I keep myself relevant? And how do I do something that I'm interested in?
Yeah.
Right? I'm interested in hearing about what other people do. You know, I'm a people's person. I like that. You know, I like to see what other people do. And if I'm helping people out, like even kids in college or, you know, even people in between jobs, finding out what they want to do or what they could be interested in, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, just have like a version of, all right, this is what you do, this is how you get there, and this is my experiences with it now.
Yeah.
You know, for example, with Torsha, him being a mortgage officer, that's pretty cool. I would have never known like that you could do that or how you get there. You know what a mortgage was. He explained it to me, so I get all these like knowledgeable tips in each interview.
Yeah. No, for sure, and that's definitely, at least from my standpoint, you know, when I watch, that's kind of what it's about. You know, it's very enlightening in the sense that, and not only that, when you get somebody to come on and talk, you almost sometimes see like people don't realize how easily they can talk themselves through a situation or a problem or whatever's going on. You know, you ask somebody about the coronavirus, and you know, you see them take that second to really ponder it and really think about it, and then they kind of work themselves through it, and it kind of gives you an insight on the, you know, what they're thinking,
and hopefully it gives them clarity too, because sometimes maybe people are just living their life, they don't really take a second to think like, oh, this is actually what I do in my job, and this is,
or maybe I've never been asked that question. Right.
Yeah.
What is my goal? You know, what is my goal? What do I want to do? And, and that to be able to think about that and then say it out loud, maybe it does. You're right. Give these guys some clarity. And again, that's just another great. That's that's just some added pizzazz to the oatmeal that is
the oatmeal that is breakfast buffet. Giving them that clarity, giving them the breakfast that they need to energize them, Scott, in the morning, so they get through their day, get through their commute, get through that practice, get through that lifting session.
Whatever it is, get into life.
Get into life.
Don't get through life. Don't get through life. Get into it.
Get into life.
Enjoy it.
Get into it. Make the best out of it. So you're
people around me, and I just put myself through hell, and I made it 10 times worse than what it could have been. Looking back now, like I said, in hindsight, I probably could have made it. I probably could have made weight
better. Yeah, that's interesting because even in middle school, like you wrestled the same weight since what, 7th grade, 7th, 8th grade. What was that? 130, right?
Yeah, since like 8th grade, it's been between like 120 and 130, 135. I think was the highest I wrestled.
Yeah, you wrestled. Yeah, that's interesting. You went without cutting any weight, and you still had that high level of success. I remember before weigh-ins, you would have a CDP, Cherry Dr. Pepper. I'm like,
I was trying to catch a sponsorship out there. You kidding me? Yeah.
I remember that before. It was like you wouldn't probably. I don't even think you even ate anything. You just had the Cherry Dr. Pepper to feed the soul, right?
It's good for the soul. Let me tell you, you got to keep the soul happy, right? That's how you keep moving through life. But like I said, maybe if I was more mature back then, maybe if I just got out of my ways a little bit, it would have been a lot of different, a different story. Because obviously I made the weight for half the season, then I stopped. I had to kind of walk up to the coaches head down, I don't want to make weight anymore. And I ended up just bumping up, wrestling behind Vinny Delafov at 133 that year to finish up the year. And like I said, it's one of those things you look back and it's like, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I don't dwell on it.
And you just chalk it up, right? And then the following year, back to 33, right? And then the rest of your career, right?
Yeah, finished at 33. Although there was an opener too. I tried to sneak my way in at 141. Goodale was not.
You wasn't having it.
So your adversity moments, gotta ask everyone this, your adversity moment. What is some adversity you've been through in your life that is a part of you, part of your story now?
Like I said, probably, and again, obviously, wrestled 15 years, the entire life, right? That's why I say I'm retired now, right? Because it's so long, I'm retired now. But I
don't know, Chael Sonnen, he's having this thing. He might have any comeback here. Maybe we'll settle the best out of 3.
Oh my God.
Me and you.
Yeah, we'll settle it with a drop kick to the chest.
Off the top rope.
My adversity moment will probably be that freshman year of college, right? There was a lot going on, right? You just left high school. Obviously, it was Rutgers, so it wasn't very far, but, you could be 10 miles away and it could feel like 1,000 miles away. It all depends on how you do it. And, making that cut, it was kind of like, because that kind of stays with me now too, right? Because I go through, cutting that weight sucks, going through that season sucked, and you realize, you don't a lot of things you realize, right?
Right.
I realized I don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was like, everyone else get out of my way. I know what I'm
Right.
doing. I didn't. So it's like, you don't always have all the answers. And also it makes you realize sometimes, life, there's always going to be situations that you don't necessarily want to get into. You don't
Right.
want to go through, but they're necessary,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's necessary. So that was a situation where, again, it sucks, but come on, let's do it. Push
Right.
yourself through it, get through it, make the most of it, and you'll be better on the other side for it. And then also, it kind of put into perspective time, right? Because once I got out of that and I stopped making the weight, I realized like I just gave up a year of competition,
Right.
and I didn't even get to really compete all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me a lot, right? That was a very eventful year, and there was a lot of learning and growing that happened in that year because of that situation. And even though, like I said, it was bad on me, it was terrible on me, I didn't do it the right way, I didn't, get the help that was there for me, and I didn't really see long term.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me with those things. It
Right.
helped me, if there is that situation, reach out to people. If there is, a situation that you get into that you don't really see the meaning
Mm-hmm.
of in the moment,
Right.
always take a second to think about, well, what is this leading me to?
Right.
So that was probably my adversity moment that really,
Mm-hmm.
really helped me get where I am.
Yeah. Yeah, and then eventually, like you said, the full circle. So you needed
I don't know
that.
if the circle's full yet. I don't know if it's full yet, but
What was that movie? When you lie, it's like a circle.
So I don't know if it's a full circle yet, but
Yeah.
it's some type of shape right
Yeah.
now. But who knows
Yeah.
what it is?
Yeah, it could always change.
It could always.
So, like, we touched on it a little bit, but I just want to touch on it more. Like the Alston Construction. What is like your day to day? Like, what do you do? How do you get to become what you are?
Well, again, right? I was, they put me in touch with people to get this job and everything. So at the beginning, it was a learning process, right?
Right.
You got to learn just like anything else.
Yeah.
You figure it out, and again, you figure it out as you go, right? I always felt like I learned best like, here, you do it, I'll watch you do it, and then I'll replicate it until I figure out my own way of
Right.
doing it. So there was a lot of learning, watching, paying attention, and then it's project management, right? We build warehouses and distribution centers, and it's kind of like you collect all the pieces that are necessary to complete this puzzle, and then you make sure that the pieces are fitting into place, right? Everything's happening, and that's pretty much it, right? Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into it, but from a broad outside,
Yeah.
look at it, that's essentially what it is, right? We get the people that do the things that need to happen to create this thing and make sure it happens in a timely manner.
There you go. Safely.
PPE, hard hats and vests.
There you
Boots, don't forget your boots.
Don't forget the boots. Steel toe.
No, steel toe can be dangerous. It's something that you learn, right? Because depends on what kind of weight you're working with, right? You got a steel toe boot on, you're working with heavy objects on a forklift. That thing falls off the forklift, lands on your steel toe boot. Boom! Guess what? You just lost all your toes. Why? Because you're wearing a steel toe boot. So things you learn.
Smart. Yeah, never would have thought about that.
Things you learn.
Yeah. So who is Scott Delvecchio? And what do you want to be known for? Yes, everyone says. You got to get ready for it.
Who is Scott Delvecchio? What do I want to be known for?
The who could always change, like you said. Life,
no,
life
it's-
is like a circle.
Exactly. It's
Even when you lie, it's like a circle.
Yeah. Who am I? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out, right? I think if you know who you are, you're probably lying, right? Because it's an endless story. So I'm still going through that journey of it. But what do I want to be known for? I don't. I just want to be known for, I think you said it once before, be somebody who people are proud to say they know. And I just hope that, at the end of this journey that we call life, whatever, whoever I came across can say, I'm glad I met that guy. So if I can leave that kind of impression on people, that's what I want to be known for. I want to be known for, hey, he was a good guy, and I'm glad I got to meet him.
Proud I got to meet him.
Proud I got to meet him. That's about it.
That's it? Any more questions? For me? For the viewers there?
For the viewers, I got nothing
I
for
think,
you.
I think we laid it down. You know, my man, one of my best friends, my best friend, one of my brothers, basically my brother, twin brothers to some that we talked to.
Twins.
Yeah, but you know, South Plainfield pride. Like I said, it came back full circle. Even when I talked to some of the, you know, the parents or just some of the people that came to our matches, like Chris DePaulo, he has a tattoo of the state titles that we won on his leg, and I thought that's awesome.
Impressionable, very impressionable. That's great to hear, right?
But
That's
I feel
awesome.
like we left the impression it's still going on.
Still going on,
We
baby.
still got a lot of work to do, right? This is only the beginning.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. All right, everyone. Appreciate you guys listening. Scott Delvecchio, everyone.
Can I do the sign off?
If you want to do a sign off, you want to hold the hammer that I've been holding the whole
I
time?
don't want to hold the hammer, but I'll do the sign off.
It's like when we were this football team used to hold the hammer.
I don't want to hold the hammer.
Okay, put the hammer down.
All right, everyone, that about wraps it up. This is Scott Delvecchio alongside Ray Jazz. This has been another episode of The Breakfast Buffet. Hope you enjoyed the oatmeal, and make sure to remember, always make it your own.
There it is. Oh, man.
Classic.
Now?
Get loud for Ray Jazz, right? Ray Jazz on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Ray Jazz!